Good morning. I just felt like doing a little reading, really just to anybody that wants a reading. But I'm thinking as a metal dog again about my fellow metal dogs. I'm participating this week or attending this week, but it feels like participating the Collective Trauma Summit with Thomas Hubble. And so I feel like I get to be a part of a big virtual community that is attempting to find a way to heal our collective trauma. And there is one speaker, the author of polyvagal theory, who said to be human is to be traumatized. And yet there is a way of taking what we have suffered and turning it into compassion. And anyway, it got my mind turning, as it does in this pandemic liberty, which is sort of free of needing to show up places. Instead of deprived, I now feel free. And my mind just going out into other ways of feeling connected, I guess. And this seems to be one of them. So I was thinking also about one of my favorite sci-fi books, Doris Lessing's Shikasta, which is something I've always thought would be really cool to teach as a historian, because it's an archive of historical documents by a fictional character, Johor, who is an alien and one of the colonizers of Earth, which is in this book called Shikasta. And there's all of these great inner chapters in this. And one of the inner chapters is on the generation gap. And I learned recently through a little bit of math and a little bit of Googling around. So let's again acknowledge my very shallow understanding of Chinese astrology. But I learned recently that you only get a metal dog every 60 years. And when we were born, those born in 1910 were 60 years old. Those were the previous generation of metal dogs. And in 10 years, we'll be 60. And a new generation of metal dogs will be born. And so I wanted to think about doing a tarot reading along these lines of talking to the previous, to the future and to the past, to imagine what they would have said to us when we were born, those 60-year-old metal dogs. Or maybe when we were 10, they're in their 70s. And that was the end of our time together on the planet as that generation of metal dogs began to pass on. And we'll have that same feeling when we're 60 and little baby metal dogs are born. And this is a part of what Doris Lessing talks about here, this generation gap that on the planet Shikasta and in biblical history as well, which is what she draws her sci-fi from in part, as I understand it. People used to live for thousands of years, and so young people are born expecting to live that long. But when you reach 50, she says, you begin to realize that, in fact, you won't live thousands of years. And the way that you've lived your youth, you may have misspent it. You may have regret. And you may wish to have lived it otherwise. And yet, young people don't want to hear from their elders about how to live. This is in direct confrontation with the liberty of youth. And so it's a quite sad inner chapter in Shikasta. And the metal of this dog makes me less sad, more optimistic, and more playful, I guess. So I thought, kind of taking a page out of the reader I love, Awakening to Spirit. Her name's Cindy. She'll do these readings of your past, talking to your past and future self. I thought, well, let's do a reading this morning, just a few cards, of what we would tell ourselves when we were born, and what we hope that those metal dogs born in 10 years see, a kind of manifestation for the future. So something about advice to our little baby selves and visions for a new generation that comes ahead for the rest of our time on the planet here. Okay, let's see what happens. Then I don't have to be nervous that it's going to come from my intellect. That's just what I sort of feel like doing today instead of grading papers, which is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. Okay. What would we tell our young selves today? And this causes me to reflect back on my life and the narrative I tell today of my life. And it has in the past been that I came from hard times. I've gone through things that were hard in my life. But also today, I've come to a place of self-knowledge and self-acceptance and really self-love. We get the strength card here. The lion with the lamb. So today, I feel that everything happened exactly as it was meant to happen. And I love me and I'm grateful for my life. But let's see what the cards want to tell our little past selves, or let's see if this makes sense at all. I'm not sure. All right, so we get the Empress. So that's so interesting. There's the Earth. I think of when I was born in 1970 and growing up in the 70s of the new games. And part of the new games was that there were no winners. And we were all playing together, and one of the games was to have this massive earth ball, and just a great crowd of you would throw that around in a field. I don't know, what I got out of it was my sense of collaboration, being a part of a collective, and also responsibility for that planet. This image, I feel like I want to point out there's a wave coming over her shoulder. There's the moon in the sky. There's that connection between the moon, the ocean, and the planet. And here we are in a season of rising waters. So let's see what else. We'll get to that. We get the Queen of Wands, passion, creativity, cultivating the arts. I'm liking this advice to our past selves. And we get the Three of Swords. Anguish on the woman's face, the heart torn asunder. I see the strings from the heart that are tied around her chest. It makes me think of how the vagus nerve makes my heart ache when it can make it feel stabbed with a knife. It can make it feel like it is swelling. And very often in love, both romantic and friend love, I can feel these strings that connect me to others. So when I look at this advice to my young self and reflect on my life, it's advice that says you will suffer and you will grieve. There will be darkness and betrayal because of loving, but also to live inspired like the Queen of Wands in all of this beautiful pink light, a big, fun, creative, joyful existence right next to the darkness that we also walk through in our lives. And then to me, the Empress is, you have everything that you need. And also to love the planet. And I feel like in many ways, my relationship with my planet and my creative, joyful inner child have helped me through the anguish. But the anguish has also increased my ability to be joyful and creative and to be in gratitude for having everything. So now I'm going to take this other deck. And I'm going to go ahead and pull 3 cards for our future self, whether it be for those little baby metal dogs born in 2030 or just a wish for ourselves. What we will have manifested and brought into the 3D world, or whatever. A wish for the future. Let us see. Wow, I wanted to look at the bottom here. Yeah, the bottom energy here is the 5 of Cups, which is sadness, nostalgia, looking into the past of what you've lost, but also there is a beautiful cup full of color there for you to look at and recognize, and a starry sky. Okay, I've shuffled these. So this is our vision for the future. A 5 of Fire. 5 of Fire is 5 of Wands. And of course this deck with its imagery is quite different from the usual 5 of Wands, which shows 5 crazy people with wands seeming to be in a kind of playful, light battle, competitive competition. So there's no leader, a little chaotic, highly creative. This one is definitely a person with many ideas, a lot of magic to bring to bear. There are butterflies. The lights are big, gorgeous flowers. She has red hair and fairy wings. This is a very young person in a world full of light. Kind of a misty world too. So I think that's so perfect for the future, not being able to completely see all of the details, but definitely lots of magic. Then we see the Call, which is the Judgment card. Here, a call to integrity, to purpose, to your highest self, bigger wings. Again, a kind of misty, unclear world. This is a building made of stone. Columns, definitely kind of a reference to ancient civilizations. Okay. I have a very hard time reading the future, but we're just giving a wish for the future. And transformation. This is the more of the light that we see in the 5 of Fire. I can't see now with the camera. So we see the fire in the little girl's hand. Makes me also think of other images in this deck, whether there's a butterfly or a bird in a person's hand. Transformation is the Death card. This is the Scorpio card. And she is definitely calling a manifestation into the world. Again, I see this child, blonde or red-haired. All of the figures in this deck are white. So that doesn't have to be. It's just a negative, it's a flaw in the deck to only envision white characters. Yeah, she actually reminds me of a friend's daughter. So we have transformation, creativity, purpose in the future. All right, well, let's just see what else we can find here if we look through a little bit more using this other deck. I'm just going to clarify and see if we find out anything more about this wish or what we would know in the past and this hope for what we might manifest in the future. Excuse me, I felt like I was getting tearful and then my nose was running. So I'm often going kind of an emotional tarot reader lately. Okay, so let's clarify our Empress with the Waite-Smith Tarot. So here she is. I think she knows her worth. This is perfect advice. You have everything you need. You are everything that you need. So I don't think it's a waste of time to speak into the past to the child that we were. And I think that's a very important message to give to our inner child and to our past self, a wish to know your worth. And when you know your worth, of course, you do not give yourself away. You do not put yourself in harm's way. And sometimes we learn ways of coping because we don't know our worth. We can't accept love. So to clarify, the Queen of Wands. So here, another beautiful card, the Six of Cups. This is always referencing your inner child. It is always referencing a equal, reciprocal, loving, playful, youthful, soulmate kind of connection. And this clarifies our Queen of Wands. This, I see, play. Be a kid. When you're a kid, be a kid. I did my share of playing, and one of the places that I played was reading, and but also lots of imaginary time by the river. I can think of lots of stories that I won't go into. So the Three of Swords. Maybe you can be thinking of stories about how you did this, you did play, you were joyful. Even though, as we see here, we have this, this darkness right next to that play. And there is the Lovers to clarify that. The Lovers card is about choices. It's about divine love. It's often about getting out of sort of the physical, lustful flesh into sublimation, higher love. There's definitely a reference here to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. But we don't have to read all of this sort of anti-pleasure, judgy Christian ideology into it if we don't want to. We can interpret this as about, getting back to the garden, getting back to being available and vulnerable for love, despite betrayal and abandonment and neglect and the kind of broken heart that can come from some childhoods. That's really powerful advice to our inner children, to our past selves, a way of retelling our childhood narrative. And the speakers at this collective trauma are reminding me that I can do two things with my suffering. I can become defended and therefore potentially harmful to others because I'm going out seeking revenge and gathering an army and preparing for battle. Or I can let what I went through, what I lived through, what I've been resilient through, cause me to open my heart, to keep it open and compassionate for other people who are going through anguish. I can be present for anguish. And because there will be a new day and a new love just ahead. And it's a soulmate love. So know your worth. You have everything you need. Play and have fun. Be present for other people's suffering and trust that this too shall pass. Okay, I feel like this other side, the future manifestation, less clear. I see creativity, integrity, purpose, transformation. I see a world I can't envision very clearly, but I see a place where these are possible, and maybe a different world for children here. No heartbreak yet. Okay, so clarifying the 5 of fire. We get the 5 of swords. The 7 of swords. 7 of swords. He is leaving the circus and he's taking his swords with him. The 5 of fire, is in the midst of a creative scramble. So this can be about walking away from something. I like to think that this person walked away from not a circus, but the tents of an army. And this person has disarmed that army. That's what I like. I like that vision for the future. And when you have disarmed the military, then we can play in the world of ideas and art. So I want to envision a world that doesn't agree that violence and militarism are just how it's going to be. That in fact, that we have disarmed ourselves. Instead, we turn to poesy, art, creativity, inspiration. The call. What is this call? It's the Judgment card. It is about being sorted. It is about choosing purpose, destiny. We have 2 people on a boat. The 6 of swords is about leaving stormy waters for still waters. It can be about caring for that person in the boat. It can be about being cared for. I totally think of refugees finding a safe island to land on in still waters. I see something I haven't really paid attention to before, which is where they're headed, to those little islands. A purpose in the future, a place for people to land, clear, stiller waters. Okay, transformation. A little bit of me is just wishing I did the first half because it's so clear and it's so beautiful. And I want to know, what's the connection between the past and the future? There's a lot of swords in the future. I feel like the future is just carrying this forward, this guarded truth. The truth is, it's a tough world. We need to leave. We need to disarm. I just saw the devil on the bottom of the deck when I was just about to pull a clarification on transformation, and so I changed my mind about pulling then. I'm just sort of telling you that. I'd rather see the 10 of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck, so I probably ruined everything. Fulfillment is the card that comes up under transformation. Personal, individual, emotional fulfillment. Actually, I'm reminded of the Queen of Pentacles. This person knows they are awesome, just sitting there proud of all their feelings. That's definitely transformation. Let me pull again because I cheated. That's funny. I cheated. Whatever, I'm doing exactly what I'm meant to do right now. So we also get the Hermit. The Hermit, inward, also solitary, knowing the truth in yourself. So a future world of emotional fulfillment, of a spiritual path that is transformative. So here I see disarming, I see carrying others to shore, bringing people home to a homeland, and I see transformation that is emotional, spiritual, and fulfilling. as a future. Okay. I don't really know what this second half is about, but I definitely find it to be a fairly austere and realistic future at this moment. And the healing that I feel from reflecting on my past life is strong here. I like the fact that as much as I love tarot as a way of kind of getting a sense of what I'm thinking about now, what I'm feeling, where I'm emotionally charged, and then kind of getting a glimpse at where I want to go, if not of the future. And what I see in this is that I need to put more time into thinking about these future ideas. They seem vague and blurry here. They seem beautiful, but because of my childhood and because of growing up really in what has been like a very disappointing half century of bad leaders and neoliberalism and the ends of institutions that supported me, I have a wariness about hoping and dreaming about the future, even though I've come to believe recently that there is power in manifesting and envisioning, and that in my work as a historian, I know I need to find ways to help my students and my communities to envision the world that we want to live in so that we can make it. And that begins with disarmament. For example, in my class yesterday, my students who had taken a lot of world history declared to me that people had always conquered. Conquest was just a human thing. It's universal, practically natural to humanity. And I said, wait a minute. When you agree to that, you're agreeing to a world that is full of conquest. And I said, look next to those conquerors. There are people resisting that. There are people who are not inclined towards that. So I'm learning and focusing on storytelling as a method of transforming the world, of transformation. And to find good stories, I do need to go inward. I need to reflect on and take inventory of my old stories so that I can disarm them. We know where they come from, right? They come from this. They come from heartbreak. They come from fear that this is lost to us forever. This is the naked, vulnerable, peaceful, beautiful, promising world that we feel like we've ruined it. Some of us feel like others have ruined it. And I know young people feel like my generation has been a part of destroying their future. So I take this to mean I need to do a better job of envisioning the future, of making it possible for the little metal dogs born in 2030 to have a home to come home to. I suddenly see that sitting next to her, you probably saw this, is a little child. And I've never noticed that. I'm always just like, oh yeah, 6 of Swords, that's a trip. Yeah, we need to do something to make this world a place to come home to in a bit. And I think I'm rambling, but I feel grateful too that I have come to an understanding. King of Wands is our underlying card there, and over here, this beautiful, magical 7 of Earth. This person puts the work in and waits to see what will appear. And in this image, it's a little fairy that has appeared to our beautiful third gender fairy of Earth. Okay, that's it. I'm going to turn this off, and I hope that you got something out of it. I did.